Okay, so I'm gonna talk really fast. So good morning. I'm about to go to a coffee shop and work on some things this morning, and then go to the YMCA. Well, I need to do that some personal things first on my bullet list, and then go to the YMCA and work on dance things for ballet we're doing called Copalia, which rehearsal was really not that great yesterday, but there were some parts that were okay. But it helps me to work personally, so that I'm outside of the eyes of an environment that is just, it's a hard being there. It's hard being in this space, when I have so many intersections that make me an outsider and impact me where I become nervous more. So if I practice before, it helps me to kind of feel more regulated. So and do better. I wanted to talk about something really fast, and I'm gonna post something else, but also, so I'll do a double post this morning. I guess this will be part of my thing at the coffee shop too, but I saved hashtags so that it's easier to copy and paste onto my phone, which is where I'm recording this right now. But basically, this is one of the difficult things I'm realizing, that my girl slash woman voice, the voice of the Noir Agbogo, which will be, for my mom's side, and then for the girls for my father's lineage, which will be, black girl slash woman, um, African American girl slash woman. These voices were not transferred. Instead, there is silence and omission of stories and erasure. And I'm going to give two examples. One I'm going to be broad about, but I'm also going to put it out in the air, because what happens is systems function very well in silence. It's like silence allows things to propagate. It allows for things to, it allows for tumors and cancers within family systems to spread. And I have to be careful about the metaphors that I use, but I do believe that these things function as infestations and cancers. That healing begins to happen when it's exposed, as I'm sure you know. So, two examples. So, first, I'm having to, when I'm did my morning routine, I have one more thing left to do, but I did most of it. And one of the things was, I'm reading a a book about somebody that is very inspiring. I find very inspiring for their story. They're an African American woman, and um, they talk about their experiences growing up in the hoods of Chicago, and eventually becoming a STEM professional and a successful executive. Um, and it's very interesting because in the book I see them talk about like an intervention that their grandmother had with them. And the grandmother said, we want you to be the hero of this family story. I couldn't do it because I was like cleaning homes of people. Your mother couldn't do it because, she had a child as a teenager. And this person also had a child as a teenager, and they're telling their story. And it's very interesting because, yeah, this intervention helped them to start to get their path on right. And I actually never had intervention. I never had, not even intervention, but just something that would be some word of encouragement or acknowledgement, or never had this from a person of my girl lineage. And what that does is, even when I talked to the girl grandparent, grandmother, or the one that I have met, I had to ask about how they felt about, education, or share things about dance. And maybe that's because I am second in the line that is like from harm. So I'm not going to go so much in detail, but so maybe but maybe I am like considered like bastard lineage. I don't know. Probably on some level. And also at the same time, this truth still stands, that the fact that there's no girl encouragement towards you're smart or you're talented, or the way that I see in this book, and seeing that this is part of a developmental delay, and my mother didn't do it either, even though she did see it. But in terms of the limitations that I know existed, and not being able to articulate her own identity as a girl child, as an Oagbogo, um, that will also transfer onto the next in line. But my mom is the primary person that did see my intellect, but the breadth of it, intellect and possibility and talent, I guess, but the breadth of it was not, I guess, accessed. Okay. And then, so that's what's painful, having to realize that this morning routine, in that I wake up early and just kind of, it's not that I'm doing things because I want to do it, it's because my spirit is intention, like on autopilot, almost like self cleaning or self healing, or putting the light to the story to help me see where all of the holes are. And there are so many holes, which is why it's taken me so long to figure so many things out. And not even figure things out, even just start to ask questions, right? I mean, I've had a lifetime of this at this point of silences, not having transmission, not knowing things about my Nigerian grandmother or grandfather, but I'm talking more about the girl lineage right now. Not having stories from African American grandmother, not having met, not having one grandfather, having met another one, not having people know me or care about me or do what this person did to their granddaughter in this book. So it's very painful realizing that I'm going to have to substitute stories that would represent things that I would have liked to have received. And of course, it's not going to substitute the people, I guess, but it's going to substitute the action and the reality that these are real developmental delays that I have, and why I would feel so much that I just wasn't moving. And I think a lot of that is because so much was not transferred in a maternal and feminine lineage. Not having even a name. Like my mother also, I'll give you an example, didn't help me with puberty when I started my period. So that would open up the door for me to be, or not, I won't say open up the door, but that will be a match for somebody that will sexually abuse their child. It's like a match the silence would meet with somebody that would propagate harm due to silence. And then also another example is that I shared with the person that I share a bloodline with. I call it a relative, right? Call them a relative, but I don't know them very, very well. But I've met them as a child on and off, and they orbited back into my circle through Facebook, and I was kind of wary of it at first, but I figured that sometimes you have to kind of let the energies collide in order to figure out what to do with it. You can't just sometimes run away. Can't go under it, can't go around it. You've got to go through it. And that's like, I needed my own little neutron star collision in order to create a single entity where the gravitational pull was its own, not just impacted by the pulls of two different, two different polarities happening. So I don't really know where to go. This would pretty much ensure that I would be forced to face the truth that would, converge into one thing and go forward from there, instead of having these different gravitational interferences. So basically, yeah, I wish that they had stood up for me when I shared that I had been abused by my father. I mean, they helped me with one part, but the other part, no, they didn't. They needed him to be able to access help with education. So this is already a system that disadvantages me, and it helps me to see that my actual family system is kind of set to say, fuck you, you African nigger bitch. And I'm sorry for the language, but sometimes I think that this is the language I needed to have received on some level, the harshness of it, because now I see why I studied language, I'm going to have to really interpret a lot of the messaging that wasn't given to me, and the harshness of that messaging. And the harshness of that messaging and how it also propagates in a system that connects to you genetically. And of course, I don't know if that's the actual literal messaging, right? I don't know specifically what the interactions messaging on a very one-to-one level is, So I'm going to let that be because I can't specifically interpret that, right? I can interpret the lack of support and the betrayal, the feeling of betrayal, because that really hurts. And me, just as I'm starting to find my intellect due to healing of my body and being able to access my science brain again because of being touched inappropriately on my chest, that will kind of psychologically colonize this part of my um, natural inclination towards learning about, you know, things in general and the part that where I enjoy science, right? So, but in the general sense of the family system, this is what the messaging is when these different things seem to lock into place and kind of form. I heard the phrase, like, I won't use it because that's not my phrase. I've heard the phrase you form Voltron, but no, I'll have to find my own phrase because I don't want to take people's phrases, especially when mine relates also to femininity. Um, like when the thing system kind of locks into place and kind of lets you know that you are a ninja bee or an African ninja bee, more specific to me. And so that's what I'm having to interpret. The silence goes alongside this word. The silence is the lack of transmission. The harm goes alongside this word. And I think that having to restructure and do morning routine within not knowing if I can be successful in my endeavors, having this messaging floating around me, like, like the parasitic, like the bacteria, the parasites, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, the bad bacteria that it is. Yeah, it's difficult. So I wanted to say that, and these are examples of the lack of transmission of girl womanness, number one, and that's in my line. Black girl womanness, more specifically, and Nigerian girl womanness. And then also the function of the system that I come from to kind of benefit. I won't say benefit always, because the boys and men, there are instances where they are harmed as well. So it's very interesting that it's a, but then and then other cases it is a benefit. My oppression is of benefit, to the point that you'll have more instances of boy and men achievement than and acknowledged achievement than girl and women achievement. So it's absolutely a benefit overall. But on the individual basis, you see that even if it's not the most of benefit, you still will default to where it can benefit you. So if it helps you in some way, then you will cut off, say, um, like, and I say that because, if I have messages that are not returned, calls that are not returned, this is when those two orbs or stars collide. And finally, I'm forced to really get the message and see this is what I've been swimming in all this time, and forced to have to navigate that one step at a time with the wound of it all. I just wanted to say that because it's very painful, and it's something that I can now finally articulate, and I think it is a blessing that I did get the gift of language to be on this part of this journey, because, studying French in college, and I graduated Magna cum laude, which I should have really done summa cum laude if I was really, like, caring about it. That's, again, this is me on autopilot. I've been on autopilot a lot of my life. But, like, yeah, it leads me back to Igbo, which was not transferred. And this whole identity of self and transmission of self, which is lacking, this girl self and this girl/woman self, it kind of shows me that, yeah, it was a tool that I didn't realize I needed, but my biology knew that I would need along the way. Even if I don't believe it's possible for me, given the amount of trauma that I've experienced. And I wake up in the morning that my body's reorganizing and rebuilding and rewiring just because it hasn't been able to breathe for so long, or breathe under conditions that are, low oxygen conditions, not really conducive to a nice full experience of life. So, all right, so let me get to the coffee shop. I'm going to post both of these, and yeah, and Yeah, it's part of my morning routine. This is my 99.9% and 0.01%, but it's more like 0.999999%, 0.00001% failure versus success rate. And that's it. All right, let me go. And I hope I can find people along the way who are a match because of this vulnerability. I just struggle a lot to connect with people. And I hope I can find the right black girls slash women also along this way because it have to be the right fit. Y'all have to be the right fit. And I hope, God willing, that we find each other and we connect with one another. Okay. Um, and just us that are the right fits for one another. Okay. And everyone find their right fit as well. Okay, I'll say it that way. All right, thank you. Have a nice day, and let me continue with this day. And yeah, all right, thanks.